When words fail, actions speak. The grand assembly hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with the sounds of 1,000 different species trying to make themselves heard. The melodic resonance filled the air with their harmonic frequencies, each note carefully chosen to convey diplomatic nuance. The crystallites pulsed with brilliant light shows, their bodies shifting through the color spectrum to express complex political positions. The Thaxians stamped their armored feet in rhythmic patterns that shook the reinforced floors. Each beat a declaration of their military might. In the center of this cacophony sat the newest members of the council. The delegation from Earth, Ambassador Sarah Chen, a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and calm brown eyes, sat perfectly still. Her hands were folded in her lap, her back straight, her expression neutral. Beside her sat Dr. Marcus Webb, a xenobiologist turned diplomatic advisor who occasionally jotted notes on a simple tablet. The third member of their delegation, Captain Elena Vasquez, a former military officer turned cultural liaison, simply watched. They had been members of the Galactic Council for exactly 3 standard cycles, and in all that time they had spoken perhaps a dozen words during formal sessions. This silence had become something of a legend among the other species. Some found it refreshing. Others found it deeply unsettling. Speaker Zith of the melodic resonance had tried many times to engage the humans in traditional diplomatic song. Each attempt was met with polite acknowledgement, but no participation. The humans would nod respectfully, sometimes smile, but they never joined the harmonic discussions that other species use to build consensus. High Counselor Krell of the Thaxians had attempted to challenge the humans to displays of strength, as was customary when establishing pecking order among warrior races. The humans had simply declined, not out of fear, but with the same quiet politeness they showed everyone. This had frustrated Krell immensely, as he could not understand how to categorize beings who showed no aggression, but also no submission. The current crisis had been building for weeks. The Zerathi, a warrior race from the Outer Rim territories, had begun making demands of the smaller colonies. Their commander Vex was a towering figure even by Zerathi standards, standing nearly 3 meters tall with chitinous armor that seemed to grow from his skin. His species communicated through a combination of chemical pheromones and aggressive posturing, and both methods made it clear that they viewed the smaller species as prey. The colonies will provide tribute. Vex's translator box crackled with electronic approximation of his pheromone commands. 1/3 of all resources, food and technology. Those who refuse will be conquered. This is the natural order. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The melodic resonance began a cacophonous song of outrage, their harmonies clashing as different groups tried to express their anger simultaneously. The crystallites blazed with angry reds and oranges, their light show becoming so intense that several smaller species had to shield their eyes. The Thaxians thundered their feet in war rhythms, declaring their readiness to fight. Through all of this, the humans sat quietly. Ambassador Chun's expression had not changed. Dr. Webb continued taking notes. Captain Vasquez watched Commander Vex with the same steady attention she had shown since the beginning of the session. High Counselor Krell rose to his full height, his armored form intimidating even in the vast assembly hall. The Thaxian Empire does not bow to raiders and pirates, he declared, his voice amplified by the hall's acoustics. We have faced the Zerathi before. Our fleets stand ready. Speaker Zif's harmonics rose above the din, calling for measured response and diplomatic solutions. Violence begets violence. The translation field rendered his song. We must find harmony, not discord. There are ways to resolve this that do not require bloodshed. Other species joined the debate, each adding their own cultural approach to the problem. The tentacled philosophers of Proxima suggested a logical analysis of the Zirathi demands. The hive mind collective offered to share their consensus-building techniques. The nomadic traders proposed economic solutions and trade agreements. Commander Vex listened to all of this with what appeared to be amusement. His massive form seemed to grow more imposing as the debate raged, fed by the chaos and strong emotions around him. When the various species finally quieted, he spoke again. "You debate like younglings," his translator conveyed. The strong take from the weak. This is universal law. Your words change nothing. You will comply, or you will be conquered. It was then that many eyes turned to the human delegation. Surely now they would speak. Surely now they would add their voice to the chorus of opposition or support. But Ambassador Chen simply looked at Commander Vex for a long moment, her expression thoughtful, then turned to whisper something to Dr. Webb. He nodded and made another note. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Several species began to murmur among themselves, wondering if the humans were afraid or perhaps planning something. The uncertainty was palpable. Finally, Speaker Zith directed a gentle harmonic inquiry toward the human delegation. "Friends from Earth," the translation field conveyed, "we would welcome your wisdom in this matter. What do your people suggest?" Ambassador Chen stood slowly, her movement drawing the attention of every being in the hall. When she spoke, her voice was clear and calm, carrying easily through the chamber without need for amplification. "We are listening," she said simply. "We are learning. We will consider our response carefully." She sat back down. The hall erupted in confusion. The crystallites flashed rapid patterns of bewilderment. The melodic resonance produced discordant notes of frustration. Even the normally composed tentacled philosophers writhed their appendages in agitation. "That's it," High Counselor Krell demanded. "That's your contribution to this crisis." Ambassador Chen looked at him with the same calm expression she had worn throughout the session. "Yes," she said. Commander Vex's translator box crackled with what sounded like laughter. "The humans are wise," he said. "They know when they are outmatched. Perhaps they will be the first to submit tribute voluntarily." The humans did not respond to this provocation either. The session continued for several more hours, with various species proposing military alliances, economic sanctions, and diplomatic missions. The Zirathi commander grew more aggressive with each proposal, making it clear that he viewed all options other than submission as acts of war. As the formal session concluded, many species lingered to form smaller groups, continuing their debates and planning. The humans packed their few belongings quietly and prepared to leave. Speaker Zith approached them as they reached the exit. "Ambassador Chen," he sang in his most diplomatic harmonics, "surely you have some thoughts on this crisis. Your species has experience with warfare, does it not?" Dr. Webb looked up from his notes for the first time all day. "We have extensive experience with warfare," he said quietly. "That's precisely why we're so careful about when and how we engage in it." But the Zirathi threatened peaceful colonies. Another species representative interjected. "Innocent lives are at stake." Captain Vasquez spoke for the first time in the session. "Yes," she said, "they are." The humans left the chamber, leaving behind a hall full of confused and frustrated allies. Over the following days, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The Zerathi, emboldened by what they perceived as weakness from the Galactic Council, accelerated. Their timeline: they attacked a research station in the Andorian system, killing 63 civilians, including families and children. The attack was brutal and efficient, designed to send a message. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions. The debate was no longer about whether to respond, but how quickly they could mobilize their various fleets. The Thaxians volunteered to lead a military response. The melodic resonance offered to coordinate relief efforts. The crystallites began calculating optimal battle formations. Through it all, the humans continued to sit quietly. They attended every session, took notes, asked occasional clarifying questions, but offered no plans, no commitments, no promises of aid. The frustration reached a breaking point during the fourth emergency session. High Counselor Krell stood and pointed directly at the human delegation. "We are tired of your silence," he declared. "Innocent beings are dying while you sit. They're taking notes. What kind of species claims to value life but does nothing to protect it?" Ambassador Chen looked at him for a long moment. "We never claimed to do nothing," she said quietly. "We said we would consider our response carefully." And Krell demanded, "What have you considered? What is your response?" Ambassador Chen stood, as did Dr. Webb and Captain Vasquez. "We will be in touch," she said. The human delegation left the chamber. It was the last time anyone would see them for quite some time. Within hours, word spread through the station that the human delegation had departed. Their ship had left dock without filing a destination, without requesting escort, without any of the usual diplomatic protocols. They were simply gone. The reaction was immediate and varied. Some species felt abandoned, others felt relieved to be free of the humans' uncomfortable silence. The Zerathi commander, when informed of the departure, declared it proof of human cowardice and announced that Earth's colonies would be among the first to be conquered. But there were others who felt a different emotion entirely. The tentacled philosophers of Proxima had been studying human history since their first contact. They knew something that the others had overlooked in their frustration with human silence. Humans had a saying, "Actions speak louder than words." The philosophers began to wonder what actions the humans might be preparing while everyone else had been making speeches. They began to feel the first stirrings of a very different emotion than frustration or disappointment. They began to feel fear. Asterisk the price of underestimating the quiet ones. The search began immediately. Every species in the Galactic Council had their own intelligence networks, their own methods of gathering information across the vast expanse of space. The crystallites used their light-based communication to query distant outposts. The melodic resonance sent harmonic pulses through subspace channels. The Thaxians mobilized their patrol fleets to search for any sign of human activity. They found nothing. It was as if the humans had simply vanished from the galaxy. Their colonies continued to function normally. Their trade routes remained operational. Their diplomatic channels stayed open for routine communications. But the human delegation, their ship, and any trace of where they might have gone had disappeared completely. Commander Vex was pleased by this development. He interpreted the human departure as validation of his approach. If the most mysterious species in the Council had fled rather than face the Zerathi, then surely the others would follow soon enough. He accelerated his campaign. 3 more colonies fell in the following week. The Zerathi forces were methodical and brutal, taking what they wanted and leaving devastation in their wake. The surviving colonists were left with a simple message: submit tribute or face annihilation. The Galactic Council's response was fractured and ineffective. The Thaxians sent war fleets, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. The Zerathi had been preparing for this campaign for years, and their military technology was formidable. The melodic resonance attempted to negotiate, but the Zerathi had no interest in harmony or compromise. The crystallites tried to blind the Zerathi senses with overwhelming light displays, but the warriors adapted quickly. As the days passed, the absence of the humans became more noticeable. Other species began to realize how much they had relied on the humans' presence, even their silent presence, as a stabilizing force in the council. Without them, debates became more heated, decisions more rushed, and strategies more desperate. Councillor Krell found himself missing the humans' quiet observations. He had come to appreciate their careful attention to detail, their ability to listen without judgment, their refusal to be drawn into emotional responses. Now, surrounded by the chaos of species all trying to shout over each other, he began to understand why the humans had remained so quiet. Speakersith composed songs of regret, harmonies that expressed his wish that he had tried harder to understand the human approach to diplomacy. The tentacled philosophers of Proxima published papers on the mistake of assuming that silence meant inaction. But their warnings came too late. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: the nomadic traders who made their living by traveling between systems and staying informed about everything happening in their territory, brought disturbing news to the Council. We have detected unusual movement in the deep space regions, their representative reported. Ships of unknown configuration, moving in patterns that suggest coordination but not communication. We attempted to make contact, but they ignored our signals. The description was vague, but something about it sent a chill through the assembled species. Ships that moved in coordination without communication. That sounded like something humans might do. More reports began to filter in. Long-range sensors detected gravitational anomalies consistent with large fleets moving at high speed. Communication networks registered brief, encrypted signals that followed no known protocol. Trade routes reported sightings of vessels that matched no known design, moving with purpose toward the Outer Rim territories. The Zerathi homeworld lay in the Outer Rim. Commander Vex dismissed these reports when they reached him. He was in the midst of planning his next major offensive, a simultaneous strike against 5 heavily populated systems that would effectively end organized resistance to his expansion. The idea that the vanished humans posed any threat to his operations was laughable. The Zerathi had never encountered humans in battle. They had no understanding of human military doctrine, human technology, or human methods of warfare. To them, the humans were simply another species that had been too cowardly to face them directly. This assumption would prove to be a fatal error. The first sign that something was wrong came when Zerathi patrol fleets began reporting unusual readings in deep space. Admiral Thok, one of Vex's most trusted commanders, was leading a reconnaissance mission near the edge of Zerathi territory when his sensors detected something that should not have been there. "Commander," he reported back to the homeworld, "we are reading multiple large signatures moving in formation. They appear to be heading directly toward our position." "Identify them," Vex ordered. "Unknown," Thok replied. "They do not match any known vessel configurations. They are not responding to our communications." "Then treat them as hostile," Vex decided. "Destroy them." What happened next defied everything the Zerathi thought they knew about warfare. The unknown vessels did not engage in the traditional manner, with aggressive posturing and displays of strength. They did not broadcast threats or demands. They simply acted. The Zerathi fleet found itself surrounded by ships that had appeared from nowhere, using technology that seemed to bend space itself. These vessels moved with precision that suggested not just coordination, but perfect unity of purpose. They knew exactly where each Zerathi ship was, exactly what its capabilities were, and exactly how to neutralize it. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, every Zerathi vessel was disabled, but not destroyed. The crews were alive but powerless, and floating in space before Admiral Thok's command ship was a message in simple galactic standard text. Return to your homeworld. Tell your commander that Earth remembers its obligations. To the innocent. The message was signed with a single symbol, a blue circle with white clouds, the universal representation of Earth. Admiral Thok's report sent shockwaves through the Zerathi command structure. It was impossible. The humans had no known military fleet. Their colonies were lightly defended. Their technology was adequate, but not impressive. How could they have defeated an entire Zerathi battle group without firing a single shot? The answer came when more reports arrived. Zerathi forces throughout the Outer Rim were being systematically neutralized. Not destroyed, but rendered completely ineffective. Their weapons were disabled by some kind of targeted electromagnetic pulse. Their communication systems were jammed by signals that seemed to anticipate their frequencies. Their ships were trapped by gravitational fields that had no visible source. And in every case, the message was the same. Return to your homeworld. Tell your commander that Earth remembers its obligations to the innocent. Commander Vex's response was to mobilize his entire fleet. If the humans wanted a war, he would give them one. He would show them what happened to species that dared to interfere with Zerathi expansion. The Zerathi homeworld was a fortress planet, protected by orbital defense platforms and surrounded by the most powerful fleet in the Outer Rim. It had never been successfully attacked. It was the symbol of Zerathi power, the heart of their empire, the place where Vex had planned to bring the tribute of conquered worlds. The humans arrived without warning. There was no grand fleet, no dramatic entrance, no declaration of war. One moment the space around the Zerathi homeworld was empty except for their own forces. The next moment, human ships were everywhere. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands, of vessels that had appeared as if from nowhere. They did not attack. They simply surrounded the entire planet and waited. Commander Vex's communications officer managed to establish a channel to the human fleet. The face that appeared on the screen was that of Captain Alina Vasquez, the quiet woman who had sat beside Ambassador Chen during all those council sessions. Commander Vex, she said, her voice carrying the same calm tone that had characterized all human communications. We need to talk. You dare to threaten the Zerathi homeworld. Vex snarled. You have made a fatal error, human. My fleets will destroy you. No. Captain Vasquez said simply, they won't. She was right. When Vex ordered his fleets to attack, nothing happened. Every Zerathi weapon system had been disabled. Every communication channel had been jammed. Every defensive platform had been neutralized. The humans had done all of this without firing a single shot, without destroying a single vessel, without killing a single Zerathi. How? Vex demanded. We listened, Captain Vasquez replied. We learned. We prepared. While you were making speeches about strength and conquest, we were studying your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. We knew this day would come, and we were ready for it. Dr. Webb's voice came through the communication channel. The Zerathi expansion ends here, Commander. You will withdraw from all occupied territories. You will return all seized resources to the colonies you attacked. You will pay reparations to the families of those you killed. And if we refuse, Vex asked. Ambassador Chen appeared on the screen, her expression as calm as ever. Then we will make the choice for you, she said. We have demonstrated that we can disable your entire fleet without effort. We could just as easily destroy it, but we prefer not to. We believe in giving people the chance to make the right choice. The silence that followed was profound. Commander Vex, the warrior who had terrorized entire sectors of space, found himself completely powerless. His fleets were disabled, his homeworld was surrounded, and his options were limited to surrender or annihilation. Why? He asked finally. Why not simply destroy us? It would be easier. Because, Ambassador Chen said, we are not you. We don't believe that might makes right. We believe that strength should be used to protect the innocent, not to prey upon them. The Zerathi withdrawal began immediately. Within days, their forces had evacuated every occupied colony, returned every seized resource, and retreated to their own territory. The human fleet maintained its presence around the Zerathi homeworld just long enough to ensure compliance, then vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The Galactic Council was stunned. The crisis that had seemed impossible to resolve had been ended in a matter of days by the species that had said almost nothing during the entire debate. When the human delegation returned to the council chambers, they were greeted with a very different atmosphere. The same species that had been frustrated by human silence now watched them with a mixture of awe and apprehension. High Counselor Krell was the first to speak. How? He asked. How did you accomplish what our combined fleets could not? Ambassador Chen took her seat, folded her hands in her lap, and smiled slightly. We prepared, she said. While everyone else was talking about what they would do, we were doing what needed to be done. But your fleets, Speaker Zeth sang in confused harmonics. Where did they come from? We had no intelligence reports of human military buildup. Dr. Webb consulted his notes. That's because you were looking for traditional military preparations, he said. Shipyard expansions, troop movements, weapons, testing. We don't prepare for war the way other species do. Then how? The tentacled philosophers asked. Captain Vasquez spoke up. We prepare for peace, she said. We study every potential threat, develop countermeasures, and position ourselves to end conflicts quickly and decisively. We don't build fleets to conquer. We build capabilities to protect. The hall was silent as the implications sank in. The humans had been preparing for the Zerathi threat from the moment they joined the council. They had been gathering intelligence, developing technology, and positioning resources while everyone else had been debating and posturing. The fleets that appeared at the Zerathi homeworld, Commander Vex asked from his position as a defeated but still curious warrior, where are they now? Ambassador Chun's smile widened slightly. Watching, she said, waiting, ready to respond to the next threat to innocent lives. The message was clear. The humans had not built a fleet to fight one war. They had built a capability to prevent all wars. They had created a force that could respond to any threat, anywhere, at any time, with overwhelming precision and effectiveness. And they had done it all while sitting quietly in council chambers, saying nothing, taking notes. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. When humans went silent, It didn't mean they were weak or afraid or disengaged. It meant they were working on a solution, and when that solution was ready, it would be more effective than anything anyone else had imagined. The Galactic Council never again made the mistake of confusing human silence with human inaction. They had learned to fear the quiet ones, not because they were violent, but because they were competent. They had learned that sometimes the most dangerous beings in the galaxy are those who speak softly and carry very, very big sticks. And they had learned that when humans say they are listening, they really mean they are learning. And when they are learning, they are preparing. And when they are prepared, they are unstoppable. The species that sits in silence, that's humanity. And now everyone knew why they should be afraid.